Good evening. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. It's great to celebrate what would have been my father's 101st birthday, but more importantly, to recommit ourselves to the ideals that he stood for: courageous leadership, a more just society, and a more peaceful world. For our family, it's a labor of love, but I know that everyone here has important demands on your time, and we are so grateful that you have taken the time and paid tribute to President Kennedy and his vision for America by being here tonight. Our entire family is grateful for your support of this library that bears his name. I know that many of you had a special relationship with my Uncle Teddy and with other family members, and so thank you for letting us keep those bonds of friendship alive. I want to thank my family, especially those who give so much of their time and energy to the library, especially my husband, Ed, my son, Jack. Oh, we can clap for Ed. We don't need to clap for the rest of them, though. My son, Jack, who serves on the Profile and Courage Award Committee, the New Frontier Award Committee, my daughter, Tatiana, my cousins, Stephen Smith and Matt Kennedy, who serve on the library's board, my cousin Joe, who carries forward our family legacy of public service with such distinction. I want to take a moment tonight to remember my Uncle Bobby, whose life we celebrate in a special way this year. His commitment to civil rights animated my father's administration, and together they advanced the cause of racial justice and held America accountable to the promises of the Declaration of Independence. Even as we look to the past, it's a year of new beginnings here at the library. We're grateful that Ron Sargent has assumed the chairmanship of the foundation, and we are excited to work together with you to achieve great things for the library. Tonight, I especially want to thank Brian Moynihan and Bank of America for their long-standing generosity and support, not just of the library, but of countless institutions and on so many critical issues. You've set the highest standard for corporate citizenship, and our country is better off because of it. I want to thank Anne Finucane for her long friendship to generations of Kennedys on land and water and on so many organizations. We salute your years of leadership on the library board and look forward to working with your successor. The Profile and Courage Award is chosen by a distinguished committee of people who care deeply about its significance. Tonight, we've already mentioned them, but I wanted to personally thank and recognize Chairman Al Hunt and longtime members Elaine Jones, Antonia Hernandez, and Ken Feinberg, who will be stepping aside from the committee. Elaine has been on the committee since the very first year. So congratulations and thank you, Elaine, for everything you've done. All of them worked closely with my Uncle Teddy on this and many other issues. He admired each of them immensely, but mostly I think he enjoyed hearing them argue with each other. Fortunately, Al will be succeeded by Martha Minow, who has listened to Harvard professors argue, so she is well prepared. We are grateful to all of you, and thank you for help. Join me in thanking them for their service. Most of all, I want to welcome our 2018 honoree, Mayor Mitch Landrieu, and the members of the Landrieu family who are here tonight. I can't think of anything better than welcoming another gigantic family with even more politicians than ours. I know that Senator Landrieu is here, and I know that my Uncle Teddy had a special bond with you from coming from a gigantic family, and we're so grateful that you're here tonight. So. Thank you. We're honored to have you. Actually, I don't think we had all the members of the Landrieu family stand yet. So could you all do that? Because we know that the politician... Sometimes family members feel that it's the politicians get too much credit when actually it's the family who does all the work. So we're really thrilled to have you. There's no one like that in our family, though. But really, Mr. Mayor, we're honored to have you. We are humbled and inspired by your courageous leadership. President Kennedy was a student of history. As we know, the book and the award for which it's named are about the study of history, and they're actually about 8 senators who took courageous stands leading up to the Civil War to preserve our Union and do the right thing. So in many ways, this award tonight is an echo of his work and his commitment to history. So I think he would have been especially proud and pleased of our recipient tonight. At a time when we're constantly being told that this time is unlike any other, it's critical that we confront our past and its systemic racism and see its echoes in our present challenges. Only then will we be able to overcome our divisions and build a more just and inclusive society. Mitch Landrieu has shown us what needs to be done. Now it's up to us to make sure we do it. As we look around our country, we do see citizen activism on the rise and a new generation that's speaking out, running for office, and entering public service. I'm proud that they can look to this award and be inspired by Mayor Landrieu and those who have come before him. And I hope that politics will once again be seen as my father saw it, as a noble profession. And I'm proud that a new generation is taking over here as well. My son Jack serves on the committee and is deeply involved in every aspect of the process. I know how excited he is about this year's selection, and not just because he was friends with the mayor's niece and nephew when they were Senate pages and got in lots of trouble. I am grateful to Jack for bringing his intelligence and insight to the award, and I know his grandparents would be so proud of him. So please, Jack, join me too.
Thank you, Mother. You're so kind as always. I have the best mother in the world. She does so much for this library and for our family. She's always right. She always knows best, and she always deserves another round of applause. So, thank you all for being here tonight, and another special thanks to all the Landrieux who are here. The last time I was in a room with so many Landrieux, we almost ended the Senate Page program. I'm sure tonight will be just as fun, at least for me. I spent the last year in law school, and I've learned a lot, although my sister Tatiana, who's here, will tell you that that's not saying very much. But one thing I certainly learned over the last year is that studying how our nation and its laws have developed over time is how slow that can be, how slow progress is, that it can't be done without a fight, and it depends on courageous men and women fighting for progress and equality. President Kennedy understood that. Political courage was the quality he admired most, not just because of the selflessness of the men that he wrote about, because he recognized that our nation depends on them. It always has, and it always will. In the current moment we live in, selfless acts hardly dominate our political environment. Instead, we see our leaders dodging issues, exploiting others to serve their own self-interest, without much regard for what's right for our country, or for how we can work together. Mayor Landrieu stands out against that backdrop very brightly. He fits the mold of a profile in courage, not just for what he did, but for how he did it. Despite facing intense criticism, like we've heard tonight, heated political attacks, personal threats, he removed 4 Confederate monuments from public spaces in New Orleans, and he gave an eloquent and compassionate speech, the kind of which I have not heard in a long time, explaining to his city and our country, and to me, why that decision was the right one, and why our public spaces should be committed to justice and equality, and provide hope and inspiration for everyone who passes through them. His decision and his commitment to our most important and foundational principles is an inspiring example of courage for all of us, especially my generation. His selflessness reminds us of our shared responsibility as citizens to continue that work, and to elect leaders like Mayor Landrieu, who will do the right thing and not the easy thing. For doing what he was elected to do, for doing it with grace, courage, and conviction, we celebrate and honor the mayor tonight. I would like to now invite you, Mayor Landrieu, on stage, as well as my sister, my brother-in-law, and recent medical school graduate, and my parents up on stage to present the award.
Wow. Jack, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And Ambassador, thank you so much for allowing me to be with you, the entire Kennedy family who is with us tonight. Senator Markey's in the house, Congressman Kennedy, my sister, Senator Mary Landrieu, is with us. One of the great mayors of America, your mayor, Mayor Marty Walsh. Tom Cochran, who is with us, who is the CEO of all of the mayors of America, the U.S. Conference of Mayors, is with us tonight. Tom, thank you so much for your leadership as well. To Ron Sargent, who chairs the foundation with Brian Moynihan, to the award committee, the indefatigable Al Hunt. Al, thank you. Carville, thank you. I appreciate it. James is in the house, a raging Cajun. Give him a round of applause. And of course, to my wife, Cheryl, and to Gracie, Emily, Matt, Ben, and Will, I love all of you. Thank you for your support and your sacrifice. I see Senator Chris Dodd is in the house tonight. Chris, it's great to see you. The ambassador mentioned my sister Mary, who served not only in the state legislature, but as the state's youngest treasurer and then became the senator for many years. When she cast her vote for the Affordable Health Care Act and on the shoulders of Senator Kennedy, it may have been the vote that brought that law into being, and it may be the vote that actually cost her her political career, so that millions and millions of Americans could have access to affordable health care. That, Mary, was an incredible act of courage, so thank you for all of your work. It must be as curious to you as it is to me that there are some people in Washington that think when Americans don't have access to health care and are more sick, somehow the country's stronger. I don't quite get that. That is an idea that some people are trying to turn on its head, but we can't be strong if we're not healthy, and I think that vote was a vote that is going to stand the test of time. I also want to thank all of my friends, and I have, as you know, my family members who are here from New Orleans. And I want to thank you for all of your courage and your support. I really think the only way to begin tonight is for me to acknowledge just up front how unworthy I feel of this award and how insufficiently capable I am of processing the very strange emotion for me, a deep humility upon accepting it, especially in light of all of those who have gone before and who have been given this award. As anyone knows me can attest, there have been very few times in my life that I have been speechless. But when Jack called me, it was one of those moments. I actually have, from the moment that I became an elected official 30 years ago, a picture of President Kennedy and Bobby D. Kennedy on the wall of every office that I've held. And it was in the mayor's office until the last day and the last moment that I have left. And he and the Kennedy family have been an inspiration to me and our family our entire lives. But first and foremost, I want to accept this award on behalf of the people of the city of New Orleans, who have endured far more than their fair share of pain and agony, from Katrina to Rita to Ike to Gustav to the national recession to the BP oil spill. But they demonstrated incredible courage in not building the city back the way it was, but building a city back better than it ever could have been from the beginning. And with your support, the New Orleans spirit endures today. And I want to thank the people of America for stepping up to the plate, helping us rebuild that great American city. I have to say that everything that I have accomplished in my life has been part of a team, accomplished either side by side or on the shoulders of teachers, mentors, the best staff in America, some of whom are here tonight, my family and my friends. And so I thank you to all of you. You know who you are. And I accept this award also on behalf of my entire family's service over the past 6 decades. Together, we have served over 100 years in elected office. My mother, Verna, and my father, Moon, who had 9 children in 11 years, unfortunately could not be with us tonight, but Team Landrieu is home in their living room right now watching this live stream, so we love you guys. We're thinking about you. They are the proud grandparents of 38 grandchildren and 9 great-grandchildren. And I have to say that it is their love and their kindness who knows no bounds. They taught us the example from the moment that we were born. In the face of great danger, in fact, in a more difficult time, my dad always did the right thing no matter what the consequence. This path is not always easy to see. That is what God must have meant when he said that we have to walk by faith, not by sight. So easy to say, so hard to do. You know, our family in Louisiana has often been called the Cajun Kennedys, which is pretty funny because we're neither Cajun nor are we worthy of the comparison. But we wear it with great pride. We have a great shared commitment to public service, a love of faith, of family, of country. And I am certain that the next generation of Kennedys and Landrieux will continue these traditions. However, I would be remiss, because you think I just came up here to accept this award. I was told, do not come home unless you issue a friendly challenge to the Kennedys to have a touch football game. And we can either do this at the Kennedy compound or we can do it at the Landrieu camp. But the rules are that aunts and uncles are welcome, nephews and nieces are welcome, brothers and sisters are welcome, and in-laws and outlaws are welcome. But you can't have any ringers. I was 3 years old when President Kennedy was so tragically taken from us. But his work and his words have inspired me and millions of other people. He showed us how mankind, by choice, could tame our excesses, aim high, seek excellence, forge grace with strength, and call us forth to offer ourselves in great sacrifice for the common good. With the immortal words that still ring in our ears and summon us to ask for nothing for ourselves, but to give everything in service of mankind. But before we knew it, he was taken from us. And then Martin. And then Bobby. So much pain, so much sorrow, so much hope and joy gone. But not before a seed was planted, not before a ripple of hope spread across the world. Darkness threatened to stamp out that goodness. Our hearts were heavy and our nation struggled to stay afoot, but stay afoot we did. Sometimes struggling together and sometimes in solitude, trying to find a way. And now, over 50 years later, we are facing another dark moment in our great land, when our past seems not to want to let the future be born, facing an attempt by forces that promote a view of life that looks back to a time that was never better than today. But that seed has grown, and that ripple of time has crossed. Time touched me and touched so many others, and given us all the courage to forcefully reject this backward-looking vision of who we are. This is what I have learned. Americans do not need to hold each other down. or push each other away to claim their fair share of the American dream. There is no need to feel afraid or threatened by those who look different than you. If they love freedom, justice, and liberty, they are our neighbor. They do not take from us, but they add to us, and we are all the better for it. That is what the fights over the monuments, you see, was really about. As much as it was about moving stone and metal, it was about confronting and then correcting the very ideas and attitudes that allowed them to be erected in the first place. As I stated when they were removed 1 year ago, to literally put the Confederacy on a pedestal is an inaccurate recitation of our full past. It is an affront to our present, and it is a bad prescription for our future. History cannot be changed, surely, but we are far enough removed from this dark time to acknowledge, to understand, to reconcile, and most importantly, choose a better future for ourselves, making straight what has been crooked and making right what was wrong. Now, this just isn't a message for men and women working in rural parishes and counties and towns of the South, but also the wealthiest neighborhoods in Boston, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago. We cannot be afraid of our nation's truth. We must confront it because that is what America does. Always, always striving to be better. President Kennedy's legacy calls us to focus on fighting for the future that can be, not holding on to a past that never was. We know that the towns, the cities, the counties, the state, the countries that will attract people, create jobs, grow wealth, give our kids a better life than we had will be places that are open, inviting, inclusive, tolerant, entrepreneurial, creative, healthy, culturally rich, authentic, and smart. You see, the future does not belong to the place that closes its door to those seeking refuge. The future does not belong to a country that closes its heart to our Hispanic brothers and sisters who in New Orleans helped us rebuild. The future does not belong to a place that bans our Muslim neighbors who assert their constitutional rights of religious liberty to choose his or her faith, or the country that rejects those who have the right to be free from discrimination because of who they choose to love. The future does not belong to a country who closes itself off to young African-American boys and girls who still feel left out of the mainstream, and it certainly does not belong to a place where working-class men and women in the heartland who feel left behind by an economy that feels rigged and rewards only a few who every day fight the temptation to turn on each other because they know in their marrow that diversity is this nation's calling card to the cause of freedom and liberty. This notion is central to our American aspiration. It is central to who we are as a people. And it is why it is so important that we have to confront our history. We cannot change history, but we can surely learn from it. It is important to say that not everyone who disagrees is a racist. There's a lot of room for disagreement in our democracy. And it is true that everyone has to take their own journey on race. But my friends, this is a very rocky road that must be walked. And we cannot continue to ignore it. You cannot go over it. You cannot go under it. You cannot go around it. It's tough, but we have to go through it. And we are not yet finished in this country going through it. We also must be clear, especially when those in the highest office in the land equivocate. There is no place for the notion of white supremacy at the civic table in America, because the essential idea of America is that we all come to the table of democracy as equals. When you reject this idea, you reject the idea of America herself. Of course, it'll take courage, but we have to reject these dark notions and reclaim a real and a true patriotism rooted in President Kennedy's forward-looking, inclusive vision for America. We have to reaffirm our commitment to a future where each citizen is guaranteed the uniquely American gifts of life, of liberty, and yes, the pursuit of happiness. That is what really makes America great. And today, it is more important than ever to hold fast to these values and together say a self-evident truth that out of many we are one. because we are one nation, not two, indivisible with liberty and justice for all, not some. We are all part of one nation, all pledging allegiance to one flag, the flag of the United States of America. It is in this unity that true patriotism, that real patriotism, is rooted and flourishes. The lessons of our past have taught us that freedom is not free. It is only purchased with sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice quietly and humbly made by so many. This kind of courage can only be summoned in the unity of purpose and in the communion of like-minded souls who somehow, some way, find each other miraculously through the grace of God, one courageous act leading to another. In this one brief moment, and in this challenging time when our government is pushing us backward, at a time when the truth is disposable and deceit is used as a strategic weapon, when the echoes of past injustices linger just beneath the surface, waiting to burst forth like a broken dam, we need courage not just from politicians, but from ordinary Americans in every corner of this land and everywhere in between. Our democracy is counting on each and every one of you and in your countless acts of selfless courage to do your part. You see, when millions of us do just our small part at the same time, there is no mountain too high, no task too daunting, no dream too big. So to every American listening, you may not be the tallest or the strongest or the best looking or the richest or the fastest or the smartest or the most well-collected. You may look different, love different, you may pray different. It is of no moment nor matter. We must all choose to find a way or make one, because this is our America. You know this well, as Tennyson eloquently laid out in Ulysses. Though much is taken, much abides. And though we are not now that strength which in old days moved heaven and earth, that which we are, we are. One equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. That is our sacred duty. Let us pray that when we are called upon, each of us in our own special way, we'll muster the courage to do our part, to preserve the values that make our country a beacon of hope, of freedom, of liberty, and of justice. President Kennedy would have expected no less from all of us. Thank you all very much. God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.